Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Edit Shift. Let's look at some rules that'll help not only those of you who are in the editing, proofreading, beta reading business game, but also for those of you who might need some help with self-writing and consider some comma rules. Welcome on in, everybody. I do have a poll on the live end. We are going to do a couple of sprints after we have our little bit of a chat about our resource there. Hello, everybody. Hello. I went also ahead in the chat and shared the link to the page that we're going to be looking at tonight. So first of all, I'm going to kind of do the title of this in reverse of what it's listed. What is OWL? OWL. I'm not talking about a Harry Potter reference. Purdue University's online writing lab is one of my favorite resources for a number of reasons. One, it is updated routinely. Want to know how I know? I've been using it as a reference point since the year 2008 when I first started my bachelor's degree in literature and linguistics. So it's one of those, it's been around for a very long time. You'll find a lot of like how to do citation stuff for research if you're a nonfiction person. The Chicago style manual is in there. But more importantly, what we're looking at today is going to be their editing tips. So saying hello, Miranda, hello, hello. Rachel sliding in. Thank you so much for giving some attention there to that like button for sure, my friendos. So if you have any questions or any comments, live and replay applies here. While we go ahead and settle in, do let me know if you have them. So for us as writers in general, no matter what your genre, fiction, nonfiction here applies, this is a huge asset of a tool for self-edit and professional edit purposes, in my opinion. You do have kind of like writing style guides, true, but my couple of favorite ones to look at, and I will sometimes link to these for some clients when I'm editing, of here's the long way to do these rules. So if you go under like mechanics, they'll do what's higher order versus lower order concerns. We've talked about that, I think, this time last month ago. Improving sentence clarity, parts of speech, how they function. So this is more like the mechanical function of language and so on. Then grammar, looking at common spelling words that sound alike, writing numbers, adjectives, adverbs, so on and so forth. But today we're going to look under the punctuation tab, specifically over at their comma rules list. And I love how easy to follow their menus are. They have a lot packed into a menu, but it's kind of intuitively organized in a categorical way that is approachable. And as someone who has used this with writers of all ages, I love that feature. Elaine, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. So, quick guide to commas. These 11 rules, if you follow them in your edits will get so much stronger. Now, I say that for self-editing or professional or anyone doing a paid service. So first and foremost, commas separate independent clauses. So this is going to be when you have a subject and a verb on both sides of your and, but, for, nor, or, so, or yet. The acronym we normally use in teaching land to teach this to kids is comma fanboys, for, and, or, but, or, yet, so. And the key is, as long as you have a subject and a verb on both sides of that comma, you should also have one of the fanboys, or vice versa. You can actually fix two comma rules there by keeping that comma conjunction together. 2, commas after introductory phrases. So words like therefore, comma, however, comma. But this could also include phrases like once upon a time, comma, to get us let in there. Mr. Blandis, hello, good to see you. How are you? 3, use a pair of commas in the middle of a sentence to set off clauses. So say, for example, you stuck once upon a time in the middle of a sentence instead of at the beginning. You would need the comma before it and the comma after it. Okay? Then do not use commas to set off essential elements of the sentence like clauses that are relative. So essential. You're essentially if this is the case where a since phrase or a when phrase or a where phrase, though you have those words at the beginning of the sentence, it might not always need the comma. Kind of applies there. Use commas to separate 3 or more words, phrases, or clauses written in a series. This is when you get into your lists. Some authors that I edit for like to do, his eyes were green and he was tall and he wore brown clothes. Wait a minute. Let's take one of those ands out of there and add some commas in here. Okay? If you tend to see you write that kind of phraseology often, you're saving yourself pennies per print in the long run by looking at little ways to clip out extra ands, extra buts that way. Let's see. Number 6, use commas to separate 2 or more adjectives that describe the same noun. So the blue, comma, full-length coat. Now, full-length would be hyphenated in that phraseology because, well, full is not describing the coat. It's describing the length of the coat, if you're wondering why hyphenated there. 7, use a comma near the end of a sentence. So remember how we said once upon a time could be at the beginning? At the middle? Well, it can be at the end. It's just, the sentence, comma, once upon a time is kind of how you would set that up. So those 3 rules kind of are relative and go together. Number 8, use commas to set off phrases at the end of a sentence that refer back to the beginning or the middle. Such phrases are called free modifiers. So words like aforementioned or previously stated tend to kind of get those commas. Number 9, use commas to set off all geographical names, items, dates, addresses, and so on. So with addresses, normally it's, say your address is 101 100 Street, comma, Baltimore, comma, Maryland, zip code, if you have the zip code there. We normally don't always give the zip code in fiction author land, but if you were wondering how should I set up a street name in my books, you got to have 2 commas, not 1. Also, number 10, use a comma to shift between the main discourse and a quotation. So for us here in the US, it's usually comma, space, quotation mark. Whenever you're saying like, he said, comma, to give that quotation. 11, use commas whenever necessary to prevent possible confusion or misreading. Now, I like number 11 as a fiction author. Why? It accounts for giving places to potential future narrators to get a breath. So if you're looking at a long phrase and it's like the bulk of the sentence is 20 plus words long, think from your narrator's perspective. They would probably love a vocal break there naturally to dip out and get a breath and dip back in, even if they cut the breath in their edit, okay? Just a little trick there to kind of also help your reader's eye with pacing. If you get a feedback from editors or beta readers that they're concerned about pacing, I, as an editor, then check in with their use of comma rules. See this, a lot of people do not read certain genres because, fantasy, because they can get wordy. Okay, we're not as bad as Tolkien used to be. We've stepped away from Granddaddy Tolkien a little bit, some of us, right? We like to pay homage, but there's a time and a place. Also, this applies. We are now in a consumer society of readers where they tend to like reads that are shorter, snappier. You know, I can sit down and get through a chapter in, say, 15, 20 minutes on a car ride or bus ride somewhere. Possibly applies if you're reading it versus someone audio play on 2x for you to get 2 chapters maybe. So that can definitely help with your comma usage under number 11 to give multiple consumers of your books that breadth audibly or visually. Okay, so I'm going to switch us out here, everybody. And thank you for bringing that up there as a talking point, Miranda, because yeah, you probably tend to write a little bit shorter in your nature then, if that's what you like to read. I see a trend in that poll. So we are going to do a couple of 30-minute sprints there. I did just hit Control C, YouTube. Let's try that again. Aha. So Jody Jean for Heart Breathings did cancel according to the schedule when I checked it earlier this evening. I will keep an eye out to see if any of my fellow admins pop up, and we may end earlier to accommodate if that happens. If not, we'll do the full 6 for sure. In the meantime, boop, maybe. I tried to add it to stage. Hold on. My timer is giving me a failure on this end. One moment, please. I apologize. Let me reload it. I know Mercury's in the Gatorade again and all, but gee, okay. I wanted that one. There it is. All right. I'll figure this out and see you all in a bit. Whoops. All right, everybody, let me go ahead and switch Rooney around here a little bit. So I did go ahead and get some revisions done to a chapter. How about all of you? We had a poll, and I switched out to a new poll, and we had new friends even join in. So let's see. There would be the link to Purdue Owl, and we are doing 5 more 30-minute sprints, unless one of my heart-breathing sprints pops up after we've been here for a bit. And I'll check that calendar here probably in about another half an hour to see if there's any updates. But in the meantime, hello, Stacy. You're adjusting your August schedule. You're going to Florida. Enjoy the magic. All the congratulations on the trip. And then, of course, if you want to check the heart breathing schedule, the Authortube schedule, or the BookTube schedule, feel welcome to go ahead and use any of those links there as you see fit. Rachel, dialogue is also your favorite thing to write. So therefore, revision stands that it's probably your favorite thing to revise and or edit. Miranda, other, all of it. You're struggling at the moment and probably rocking it out at the same time with all the secrets and threads and witches. Ooh, yes, Sarah's roadmap spreadsheet. And then, of course, color code that, baby. Yes. See, this is why I love a lot of her methods, because it feeds into that, let me get my detective goggles on and let me really go get pulley on finding what needs fixed more effectively, for sure. Paget, you love writing dialogue off the cuff and revising descriptions because they usually need a little paring down. That's fair. That's fair. Let's see. I'm glad you're here, my friend. Good to see you. It's been a little bit for sure. I hope you're doing great. Yes, dialogue is it's at. So I think that one got shared in on a delay. Apologize for that. So we are going to go ahead and let me see who is refresh on the heart breathing. So I mentioned it. And then, of course, Authortube. Who is going on around our time? Let's see. We do have right now hanging out. And then, of course, PJ and Scribble starts here in a little bit. Rachel says, just realize you're doing the opposite of using. We go through patterns with that in our books, do we not? Notice a lot of smaller sentences. See, I wondered this with your previous book. If you're, because you even said this in a previous stream of yours, didn't you? Of how or a newsletter or somewhere that you were looking back and seeing where you were growing as a writer. That possibly could be you've gotten used to using more concrete language, possibly, question mark, could apply, giving you that totally deserved grace there. See, run-on sentences, if they have a point, are okay. I don't mind a good run-on sentence every now and again, especially if it has a point. Stacey would like to get a few more words, but is tired. Take care of you if you need to, friendo. Paget will use and 4 times, don't even care. Sometimes that's fine. That's fine. Definitely fine. Did a lot of admin as necessary, but you did what you needed to do, and that's all that matters, for sure, for sure. You have some characters who would definitely go wild with those. I can think of a couple of your characters who like to monologue a little bit. Then again, I have a couple characters who like to Well, we don't call it monologuing, do we, Ian? Captain's log, star date, blah, 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 blah. I don't need to know how many X of number things were in the inventory that day, dude. Can we just get to the story? Please. Paget, smaller sentences. C are nice too for breaking it up. Yes. Not the vampire. Never. Not the vampire who was a merchant as a human specifically. Never, never. Paget, we girls. Boys, I don't know. I've met some teenagers who tell some really good fish tales that are basically a never-ending run-on. So, question mark of use of hyperbole in play apply, maybe? Oh, yes. Fish tales in his house. Whew. Speaking of, for those of you getting ready to go back to school, bless you for what you do, forever, how you do, whether it's a little loud. Students that you're parenting, teaching, paraing, or more, you rock. Let's do another 30, shall we? All right, everybody, if you have not done so already, save your work. Save your work. So we do have 2 more sprints. Or no, sorry, goodness. 4 more sprints. I read sprint number 2 as I said that. 4 more sprints of the 30-minute variety after this. How are you doing? Paget, can't believe it's almost time to shop for school supplies again. All the this. 3,000% all of this. I mean, you love school supplies, but also, wow, yeah, the best sales are going to be coming soon for sure, hopefully. Paget's going to go take care of things with the daughter, all the hugs, take care of you, be safe indeed. And then I tend to do the most writing of new material. A lot of us are seeing the third quarter. I wonder what event that kind of has gone into the Matrix ethers is causing that for us. And then, of course, all the hellos all around. Grab your copy of the Authortube Anthologies here if you want to grab them. And, of course, now it's 2 of Crohn's, where you can find them instead. Check out their Instagram for sure. Miranda spent most of that sprint sorting out Post-its, ordered more. Now you need to figure out how to change the column width in Google Sheets. Oh, I can show you how to do that. Hold on. Google.com. Okay. Hold on a second. Boop. Boop. Okay. So if I do this, share screen, that, and then boop, move that one. There we go. So if I scroll in here a little bit, it's where you can see it a little bit better. You can either grab this gray part up here, and it becomes that double-sided arrow or a hand. On my device, at least, it does. It's the key is to hover over that gray line until you get the 2 opposite-facing arrows. And you can do the same over here on your rows. Just instead of sideways, they're up and down. Though, kind of finessing that does take a little bit of practice, especially if it's tiny. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, if it's something tinier is often why I'll miss that, and you're totally welcome. Glad to share. Glad to share. Rachel got through 2 chapters. I can't wait to read what all the goods you're doing in the book. It sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. You've been working diligently, I think is the correct word choice for this. For sure, friendo. And it's paying off big time. So I think since we were chitter-chattering so much earlier on in the stream, what I'll do is maybe reclaim some of our time and get us into another sprint a little bit early, especially since this is a self-care, soul care kind of break. If you need it, take it, especially since you're getting the bonus time. See you here in 30. Back there. Hi. Oof, you bumped your head. Are you okay? You're okay? All right, she's fine, everybody. So I'm actually going to go ahead and wrap us up. I keep having internet issues. I'm going to run through comments and catch us up, though, before I send us on off. I keep having, like, possibly loss of connection issues. And I know Diane had issues earlier today, so I'm not going to try and risk a repeat. You're very welcome again for the help there, Miranda. Rachel, definitely yes, when you are able. I totally agree. Thank you, thank you. And yes, I know how your villains are. They're amazing. That's how they are. I'm actually intrigued to see what kind of chaos they're causing because, yeah, as long as it fits in, right? Second time, please take your breaks as you need for your eyes, my friendo. Definitely take your eye breaks as you need. Revisions, you have 2 more documents. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. Have you... Well, I guess that wouldn't work because it wouldn't put them in where you wanted. I was thinking, would the merge document feature in Word help? But no, not if you got to tell it where to put it. Stacy is very frustrated. Husband tells me you're taking a vacation, and you're the one researching. Groupon. A friend, actually, my cousin used to work like in the loading areas of the theme parks because she has her forklift license and stuff like that. And working in the parks, I think, is where she got the training to do that in their loading and unloading areas for the food and other park merch things. And she would often say, check Groupon first, always, because especially this time of year, as schools are getting ready to start in Florida, in some areas, you might see them offer more family-friendly pricing during the last days of summer is why she would recommend that. See, yeah, I used to love theme parks. Jenna doesn't handle them nearly as well as she used to. We went to Busch Gardens, like, easily 10 years ago. Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, like easily 10 years ago. And that was a little stressful. Can you dictate perhaps? Maybe Rachel? Yes, going to Orlando. And you should ask Heather or Jody Jean of ideas because I think Jody Jean used to live over close to that way. So she might kind of have suggestions of maybe other things to do, and both of them are, both of them are mothers who raise kids kind of in the Florida area, but Jody Jean being a Grammy probably knows some little kid friendly things that are recent, I think, maybe, is why I suggest her. Rachel, you love Universal. Me too. It was the X-Men characters that did it in for me, but also the water park. And yes, get some eyeball rest. Stacy, the kids are not very interested in Potter, which is why you want to go. But the youngest teacher really, oh, yes. She's still pretty young. Animal Planet, I think, might be a good choice. And then there's, like, a lot of kid-friendly themed, like, craft something workshops where they could actually take something home with them. Consider looking for those, too. You're very welcome, my friendo. All the hugs. Congrats. We were just speaking of you, Heather. You summoned her, Stacy. Stacy's going to be in your area in the near future, Heather. Maybe the two of you could link up for some family-friendly things for kiddos that you might have of suggestions in the area of things they could do. If your ears were burning, you're very welcome, my friends. Thank you for spending so much time. And yes, I'm glad that's helping you. Google Sheets. If you need more help, let me know. I have some videos I could send your way, my friendo. Save your work. Take care of you. And above all, you know you matter. All the hugs. Thanks for hanging with me a little bit.